Meeting of the Clear Lake City Council of Monday, June 20, 2022 shall come to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Motion to approve the agenda, please.
So made.
Moved by Mike, seconded by Dana, that we approve the agenda. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries. To the consent agenda, you have a copy of the minutes of June 6, 2022. We need approval of the bills and claims, of which you also have a copy. We have the following licenses and permits: liquor license, Class C liquor license, Half Moon, that's a renewal; excavator license, Helps Drain and Septic, that's a renewal; amusement license, Clear Lake Chamber 4th of July celebration. We have a fireworks permit, Clear Lake Chamber 4th of July celebration, and a street closing request, Clear Lake Chamber 4th of July celebration, June 30th to July 5th, and Brews on the Beach, July 9th. Motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Dana, seconded by Gary, that we approve the consent agenda. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries. Now is the time and place for anyone in the audience who wishes to address the council on any issue or concern. Please approach the podium, state your name first and last, and give your address so that the clerk can properly enter it in the minutes. This is not a discussion time nor a question and answer time, but it is an opportunity to speak. Not appearing, we'll move on to unfinished business, of which we have none, and to 6A, new business, 400 block Main Avenue Alley Improvement Project. Intro, Mr. Flory. Welcome, Scott.
Thank you, Mayor. Council will run through the items here in the packet with you. First item is the yellow sheet, pay estimate number 1. So that serves as the final for this project. For the contractor, complete concrete. The next sheet, the orange sheet, is resolution accepting the work. That indicates the final value of work completed on the project. Construction value was $127,958.99. The next sheet, the green sheet, is a certificate of completion. It's filed by the project engineer, Jason Petersburg, with Mr. and Kim on May 25th, indicating that all work is completed in compliance with the project plan specifications, form of contract that was approved by the council previously. So just in the way, I give a little bit more background information on this one. If you recall back last year in August, we had a I won't call it global, but a larger alley project than what we ultimately wound up with. We had a couple of segments involved in that, and we had let that project for bids. We were calling it the 2021-22 alley improvement project, and it consisted of course, the 600 block of Buddy Holly Place alley reconstruction, as well as the 400 block of Main Avenue alley reconstruction project. And we had let that for bids and did not receive a single bid on that project. So at that time, we sort of strategized about how we could get some more interest among contractors into that project. So we decided at that point we would proceed immediately with the rebidding of the project with just the 600 portion of Buddy Holly portion for the project. And we were successful in getting a bidder on that project. Again, it was complete concrete on that project as well. And that bid was $69,437. It was completed for that amount. So that project was completed in the fall of 2021. So again, that was one half of that overall 2021 alley improvement project. So the next phase was the piece we're talking about tonight. And we had let that project for bids and ultimately awarded that project to Complete Concrete in the amount of $126,212.50. We did have some more interest at the time in that project and bidding. We did receive 3 bids on that project. But the project has now been completed. As I mentioned previously in the certificate of completion, the final value of work completed on the project was $127,958.99. Did have a completion date of mid-May, so it was completed on time. Obviously, it looks really good. Just as a reminder, if you recall, one of the drivers on this project was some private improvements that were being made to the former Thrifty White corner drug building there. So Alliant Energy was going to have to make some improvements to their infrastructure, which involved some undergrounding of the electrical services, and that involved removing some of those larger overhead poles and undergrounding the lines and those kinds of things. So we had an opportunity there to partner with Alliant, and they were going to reimburse us for 50% of the paving costs for their portion of the project. So we have to invoice them yet. So once we accept this, then we'll send an invoice to Alliant and get recovered from that. I think it's around $20,000 to $25,000 that we'll be getting back for that project from Alliant. So again, that's 50% of those pavement restoration costs. So I don't have anything further. I just would add that the project, I think, turned out really well. The colored stamped concrete, of course, the bollards, everything in. So I think at some point here, we'll probably add some street furniture in the alley, some tables and things so people can sit. It'd be nice. We talked a little bit about adding some Edison bulbs in there. So kind of, again, creating more of a pedestrianized area there so people, in particular, on Thursdays on Main, 4th of July, some of the big events downtown got another little place to go and enjoy dinner, whatever they wish. So I don't have anything further in terms of any background on that one. I think Jason's going to review the pay estimate number 1. As I mentioned, we just had the one pay estimate on this, so serves as the final for the project, and then he'll review the recommendation to accept the work. So.
Council, any questions for Scott?
Not a question, but a comment. From time to time, I aimlessly wander about the city and
we've been getting reports on that.
Notice things.
People want you to stop.
Well, it's usually during the daylight hours, so I'm not quite as frightening then. And in addition to that, recently I've had a little extra time to contemplate things. So I'm not sure if it's appropriate for the 400 block alley, but I've given some thought to the 300 block alley. And well, last fall I was in Decorah and wandering up and down their main drag there. They had certain areas where they had some benches where people could just, stop, relax, enjoy a cup of coffee or something. And I was wondering at some point, maybe we could consider putting a couple of benches near Main Avenue on the 300 block, or maybe even a table or two where just a thought, and I suppose that would have something to do with our Parks Department. But
you're spot on. No, exactly right. So probably lump both 300 and 400 block in together and add some tables and chairs.
Okay.
There. I think it'd be just a really good natural next step for both of those.
Yep.
Alleys.
Well, anyway, I thought I would share
They've
that.
become very popular. I see them in many communities I visit, in the same kind of situation where you got some tables and chairs.
And it does seem that we've usually got hundreds of extra people in the downtown area on a daily basis this time of year. It's not so much in January, but pretty heavy duty right now. So anyway, just a thought.
Yep, good suggestion.
Any other comments?
Yeah, just real quick, Mayor. I think the amazing thing, Scott, is when you look at that, it'd be nice to have a before and after picture, because when we looked at that alley and what it looked like before,
Oh, yes.
I mean, it's just dramatic how improved it is. And I think, thank you for all the hard work that you put in on that. I know we worked with several partners, Alliant, some of the business owners there, and they're making improvements. So again, what I like about it, just a very nice partnership and collaboration with private business owners in the city and the electric utility to improve that a great deal. So
Definitely, and like
Yeah.
we talk a lot, the underground improvements that were made, we had significant, you and I were there many times, significant drainage issues
Yeah.
there, and the potholes and the flooding, localized flooding there from the roof drains, they're all tied into the storm sewer system now. So, I mean, as we joked previously, about the only thing missing from that alley before was like the chalk silhouette of a body laying there. It was very rough. It was not, when you think about Clear Lake, and Nelson always talks about the Norman Rockwell downtown, if you're walking down Main and you took a right there, you wouldn't realize you were in Clear Lake. So much improved and probably overdue. Yeah.
Thank you, Scott. Review of pay estimate number 1, the final estimate, the final payment and recommendation to accept work. Jason Petersburg, Veenstra and Kim, welcome. Jason.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Work on the 400 block Main Avenue Alley project is substantially complete. Complete Concrete out of Clear Lake was the prime contractor for the project. Nettleton Excavating was the subcontractor that did the storm sewer and sanitary sewer work. Just a reminder, the project scope did include new sanitary sewer main and services and new storm sewer and roof drain piping. The project was challenging on the underground utility-related end. The soils were not suitable for backfill, so the native soils were exported and new backfill material was imported for the trenches. All in all, the project went well. Like I said, it was a very tight corridor, limited space for working. However, the contractors were able to get all the work complete. Pay estimate 1 in your packet. It's the final pay estimate for the project. Final value of work completed is $127,958.99. This is approximately $1,700 more than the original contract amount based on the quantities installed. The overrun is primarily related to the special backfill material for the trenches, and then a little bit of extra paver and paver base items that were installed to facilitate some of the transition slopes. After deducting the retainage, the net amount due to complete concrete is $121,561.04. V&K does recommend approval of pay estimate 1 as well as approval of the resolution accepting work on this project. Questions?
And this amount of money goes to
Complete
complete
concrete.
concrete. Okay. Any questions, Council or Jason?
Just a comment, Mayor, I just want to thank you, Jason, as well, for your work on the project and the contractors. Didn't mean to leave those out in my earlier comments. So, terrific work on everybody's part. Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Thank you, Jason. Therefore, entertain a motion to approve pay estimate number 1 with regard to the 400 block Main Avenue Alley Improvement Project in the amount of $121,561.04 to Complete Concrete of Clear Lake, Iowa. Motion, please.
So offered.
Second.
Moved by Mike, seconded by Bennett, that we approve the payment to Complete Concrete. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries. And now entertain motion to approve Resolution 2444, which is a resolution accepting the work.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Bennett, seconded by Dana, that we approve Resolution 2244. Is there any discussion? Roll call. Mike?
Yes.
Gary?
Yes.
Bennett?
Yes.
And Dana?
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0, and Resolution 2244 is duly adopted. 6B, Emerald Edge Subdivision Upgraded Street Lighting Project. Intro, Mr. Flory.
Thank you, Mayor. The pink sheets in your packet address this particular item, so if you want to follow along with those. Just in the way of some background, if you recall, we have a development agreement with Sukup Ag LLC. We approved that back in December of 2021 for the Emerald Edge subdivision. As you can see, that work is well underway as we speak. The part of the agreement, we had included a provision in there to participate in the cost, to offset the cost of upgraded street lighting, so almost identical to what we did out in Courtway Park subdivision, where the developer would be responsible for the street lighting for the standard Alliant pole fixture. So what we did there was work with the developer there to participate in terms of an incentive for the developer to an upgraded streetlight fixture in the city, offset those costs, and handle the bidding and installation and all those things that go along with that. So similar situation here with Emerald Edge and Sukup Ag LLC. We would do the same kind of work in this particular subdivision. So you have a professional services agreement that we've negotiated with Veenstra and Kim for, again, an upgraded street lighting project for the Emerald Edge subdivision. The engineering service agreement is an amount combined total not to exceed $10,100. Just point out my conversations with the subdivision developer that they anticipate being completed towards the end of September, early October. So, we would be installing the lighting. So we would probably be pretty flexible, and you probably hear me say this again a lot on other projects, that we're probably going to be needing to be sort of nimble on these projects in terms of the bid lettings. So in this particular case, where we're thinking we'd probably, have a bid letting maybe October, maybe before then, do the construction in the fall. A lot depends on kind of what feel we get from contractors in the field about their scheduling. So we might want to, if we need to strike a little sooner while the iron's hot, if there's contractors needing work, we might adjust our schedule to get the best, do all we can to get the best possible bids that we can get. And again, some of this is going to be driven a little bit by lead time. You're well aware of the supply chain issues plaguing just about every industry there is, and street lighting certainly is no exception to that. So again, depends on the lead time for those things. But ideally, looking at probably winter work for something like this, so into December, January kind of time frame, which is very similar to what we did out in Courtway Park. So probably going to look at a couple different light fixtures, but the ones that we used out in Courtway Park are similar to the ones that we use for East Main Avenue. So for consistency, we may just opt to stay with those, and they look, I think, really, really good. So, but we're going to look at part of the agreement. Be have the electrical engineering department look at a couple different fixtures. So, of course, obviously, there'd be LED like everything else we're going to do. So, the decorative poles, of course, all are city-owned. So I don't have anything further on that, unless anybody has any questions on that.
Any ballpark number of lights that might go into a project like
Not
this?
sure yet. A lot of that's going to that'll be some of the work Jason's firm will be working on, but I'd like to have as little as possible from the budget perspective, because they're not going to be cheap. So you may remember in Courtway Park, I think the total on that was around $65,000, and in a couple of years, they've not done anything but go up in price. So I'd like to get by with as few as possible, but we'll see, I guess.
What, per light, the difference between the base standard and the upgrade? Any idea?
I would say, would you say about 5,000 to 6,000, somewhere in there? I'd say roughly 5,000 to 6,000 per fixture.
Okay, all right.
With the bases, yeah, I think just like the 20/4 million from last time we replaced it, that was just before.
These would be a little taller, so.
Right,
yeah.
that's just the 20 footers that are in, so I don't know, we haven't had a replacement out of.
I'm going to say probably around that 5,000.
Don't you have any old telephone poles out behind it? No, I'm being facetious. It's kind of a dry crowd tonight,
is
so
tonight.
I'm
Yeah,
trying
what's
to
the
get you
deal?
going.
It's hilarious.
Any other comments, questions? Thanks, Scott. Review of professional services agreement, Jason Petersburg, B&K. Okay.
Covered the scope of the lighting improvements. One difference from the Courtway Park project I'll note is the Courtway Park project, the lighting controls, electric meter, et cetera, was served from North 32nd Street. We had designed that into the North 32nd Street project. We have looked at the Emerald Edge area. There is no location to connect to an existing control cabinet. Even the traffic signals are on the wrong corner of the intersection of 20th there. So this will require a new control cabinet. Lead time, Scott mentioned, the light poles, we can, if it's similar to what's on 32nd Street Courtway, lead time 6 to 8 weeks, not bad. Control cabinets and meter sockets, on the other hand, are in pretty tough shape, up to 10 months even, I've heard, depending on what all is involved there. With the design, we do plan to present a couple light fixture options to the developer for their consideration. Like Scott mentioned, one of the options will be similar to North 32nd and Courtway. The engineering agreement provided includes design, bidding, and contract documents for the street lighting improvements. as well as assisting through the bid phase. For the construction phase, the agreement includes the general administrative services, staking, and limited resident review during construction. Schedule-wise, we will work on having design and bid documents ready to go by the end of the summer and proceed with bidding the project, I guess when the time is right, and allowing more than likely a longer, larger construction window for the contractors to work that into their schedules and to entice some more favorable bids. Total fee for the design and construction administration is not to exceed $10,100. Any questions?
Council, any questions for Jason? Thank you, Jason. Therefore, entertain a motion to approve professional services agreement by the city with Veenstra and Kim Engineering on the Emerald Edge subdivision upgraded street lighting project, not to exceed $10,100. Motion, please.
So offered.
Second.
Mike, seconded by Gary, that we approve the professional services agreement with V&K. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries. To 6C, purchase of a new Class A pumper fire apparatus. Intro, Mr. Flory.
Yeah, I'm going to fill in for Creighton tonight. He wasn't able to make it back from Chicago. So just in your packet here, we'll kind of run through the items here. The yellow sheet there is a letter from Fire Chief Doug Myers, just giving some background information on the proposal. The next sheet, of course, you see every budget session that we have is capital equipment improvement data sheets. Again, just indicating that we've been putting the money aside for the project for last few years here on this one. Then the gray sheets are a copy of the RFP that Doug has proposed to issue here late July, early August timeframe. And then also it's just some pictures of the two vehicles that we would be replacing that are currently located over at the fire station. So again, the request is to go out for bids for the purchase of a new fire apparatus, a pumper truck. This will replace engine 4, which is a 1989 combination pumper tanker, so 33 years on that one. Engine number 1 is a 1994 pumper tanker, so we have 28 years on that one. Both currently being used by the department, of course, but we think both, as we have talked about at budget time, have reached really for our department the end of the useful life for us and their efficiencies. So we would propose that upon arrival of the new fire truck apparatus that those two be sold after a certain period of time, break-in period for the new vehicle. So we think within about 6 months that we'll list those privately and probably go on to another community for their use in their fleet. So as I mentioned, we've been planning for this purchase for several years now. The accumulated reserve fund that we have amassed so far is for fiscal year 23, which of course the budget year we're heading into here in about 10 days or so. We have about $490,000 put aside for the truck in that fiscal year. So one of the things Doug pointed out, and he'll probably talk about this when he reviews the bid proposal specs for you, the lead times, again, as you would suspect on a vehicle like this, are just astronomical. And we see it in every department we have, whether it's street sweepers, bucket trucks, you name it. They're just a very, very long lead time. In this case, could be as much as 20 months. So it makes good sense to start the process now and kind of get this in the queue so that we could have it. We're hopeful to have delivery sometime the winter of 2023. So. Again, the schedule calls for early August, late July timeframe for a bid opening, bring it back to the council after that for approval and award of the contract, sometime around Labor Day timeframe. And again, the estimated cost is approximately $650,000. As I mentioned, we currently have about $490 put aside. So then again, we'd have some sale value with the two as well. So I think we're in good shape to buy another truck without having to borrow any funds, so it's luxury to be able to do that. We call it the Mike Callahan slush fund. Put it there.
Any questions, comments for Scott? Thank you, Scott. Review of vehicle bid specifications. Chief Doug Myers. Welcome, Doug.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. As Scott said, we've been planning this for a long time. The intent is to replace 2 vehicles with one. Some of the issues we're having with the older 2 vehicles have to deal with a 33 or soon-to-be 35-year-old vehicle as well as a 30-year-old vehicle. We've been getting a little bit longer duration out of our apparatus than we've been speccing out in the past. Current vehicle that we're looking at, the GVW, about 59,000 pounds. So it's a little bit heavier than what the 2 we're replacing would be. 6-man cab, design, obviously diesel with an automatic transmission. 2,000 gallon per minute fire pump, carries 1,800 gallons of water. Vehicles we'll be phasing out carry 1,400 and 1,000 gallons respectively. We're not so concerned about dropping the gallonage of a water tank as for the rural areas, we rely on Ventura to bring in extra water on an automatic mutual aid basis. So we're helping them by generating calls, plus they're getting a lot more practice coming to our calls than the few number of calls that they respond to. The vehicle vendors that we've talked to so far, we've talked to 6 different vendors, all from the Midwest. 2 of them from Wisconsin, Pierce and Seagrave, Alexis in Illinois, as well as Toynes down in Breda, Iowa, and Sutphen in Ohio, and Aaron's Fox in Michigan. All 3 of them are capable of building, or all 6 of them are capable of building the apparatus that we're proposing. Stainless steel construction on the body.
Going to mention, Doug, some of the previous trucks we bought, we purchased from Toyne and Sutphen.
Yes, the only ones we've never purchased from has been Seagrave and Alexis, albeit Aaron's Fox was 100 years ago.
Yeah.
But they're in business and have been selling fire trucks, building new fire trucks for the last 20 years. So we've had very good luck with Toynes, we've had good luck with Sutphen, and I feel comfortable with any of these 6. You know, Seagrave would be the only company that we've not previously dealt with. Within our specifications and the instruction to the bidder, we're asking for prepayment discounts as well, and we've done that in the last several vehicles that we've purchased. Generally, they'll provide us with options as far as how much of a percentage we pay at contract signing versus delivery versus chassis delivery. So there are different options in that $650,000 estimate, assuming that we take advantage of that prepayment, may go down by as much as $30,000 to $40,000. As Scott mentioned, the delivery time, we would expect to see this in late 2023 or early to mid winter of 2024. So that 14 to 20 month delivery time frame, that is very consistent across all 6 of these vendors. Here's one that provided us with the shortest lead time, but they're the mega builder in the industry right now. So we'll see how the bid would come back. Questions you may have for me?
Yes, Doug. We're buying one brand new one that replaces 2 older
Correct.
ones. And this one, you said it holds 6 firefighters.
Yes.
Does that short us?
No, the engine 4 carries 6, and engine 1 typically carries 5. And that has to deal with the design of engine 1. That was an experiment back in the mid-90s. And based on the fire station at the time, we had to build a truck that was shorter than what typically we had to make it fit in that station. So that's why it kind of looks like a delivery truck with a box stuck in the middle of it. So that crew cab holds 3, where the operator's cab will hold 2. The engine 4, the other cab over engine, there's 4 in the back, and then 2 in the front operator's compartment. We typically, on rural calls, typically will respond during the day with 8 people in total. So we will respond to 2 engines, and then Ventura would come over with 3 or 4 guys in another engine. So the water capacity goes down just a little bit, but quite honestly, through the 25 years or so, we've managed to burn down most of the big structures out in the rural area. You know, I say that jokingly, but unfortunately, there are not as many buildings out there as there used to be. So the water carrying capacity is not a concern.
So we've talked in the past about that. I assume it still holds true that, for example, if there's a structure fire in Hanlon Town, we're there as well, correct?
We typically go up to Hanlon Town for structure fires, and we would take just 1 truck at that time.
All right.
All of our mutual aid responses, generally just 1 vehicle.
And usually Ventura accompanies us.
Yeah, and part of the issue with mutual aid and fire service around here, it really is not equipment, it's personnel. Every fire department in the area is struggling with recruiting. Knock on wood, we're fine. We've got a full roster. We anticipate 1 or 2 retirements here coming up, but we have a recruiting effort going right now, and I'd much rather have a stack of 6 or 8 applications as opposed to having 3 or 4 empty locker spots.
Speaks well for the overall department,
Yeah.
in my
Yeah,
opinion.
very much so.
I have one more question. Early in my term, I believe, purchased that great big one out of Wisconsin.
Bumper ladder.
And we've had some troubles with that. Remember, we had to go back over with the wiring or something?
Oh, the
But
heavy
I don't know
rescue
what
truck.
you call that.
Yeah, it came out of Marion. Yeah, yeah. Typically, we're not soliciting bids from them. They typically build aluminum body trucks, and the last 2 we've purchased have been stainless steel body trucks, and that's why. All of these 6 companies all build stainless steel, and that's our preference to stay with that. The stainless steel has longer life cycle, has less flex problems, as does the aluminum. So the weight of the vehicle is a little bit more, but the durability is a lot longer.
But, and now I see you've asked for wiring diagrams when you get the new
Oh,
truck.
yeah.
Because
Yeah.
that seemed to, you know,
Yeah.
boggle somewhat our mechanics, you know,
Yeah,
when he came to
with-
fixing that.
Yeah, within the 165 pages of specs, it's very, very specific as far as wiring diagrams, plumbing diagrams as far as the fire pump, the discharges, the inlets for the pump, the supplemental air that comes into the truck to keep the brake system charged in the station. Same way with shore lines to keep the battery-operated tools that we carry in the truck charged at all times. So all those are built into the vehicle. The nice thing about some of the technologies that have tried through the years is it's getting better and refined, but the lighting systems are all LED lights, so we're not having to replace light bars the frequency we used to. So to some extent, technology gets a little frustrating, but after a few years, people figure out what works and what doesn't work as far as new technology goes.
Thank you. Any other comments?
If I'm not mistaken, the last fire apparatus we've actually purchased was the ladder truck pumper? No?
It was not the ladder. The ladder is actually 12 years old.
Okay, yeah.
And the last truck we took delivery on was 2018, and that was a Toynes combination pumper tanker.
Oh.
Pretty similar to this vehicle.
Okay.
It's a little, like I said, the new one would have a little bit greater water
Sure.
carrying capacity. but most of the other stuff is pretty similar.
Yeah, okay. Well, just one, I've been around for 15 years, and I just can't compliment you enough for your efforts. I mean, talk about a volunteer job that goes on and on and on, and I know it's a labor of love, but I just want you to know that the people sitting here and the citizens of Clear Lake have really appreciated your efforts and your professionalism and the wonderful department that you've always provided for the city. Thank you.
Thank you.
Doug, I think so. I think in these 15, 20 years or so, we've pretty well rolled over the entire fleet. I can't think of anything.
Scott, when you came in 2002,
One.
okay, well, in 2002, we took delivery of our brush truck.
Yeah, I remember that one,
And,
yeah.
That was kind of like my first
Yeah.
foray into making recommendations about purchasing
Yeah.
something as fire chief. And yeah, after that, everything will be new.
Yeah.
Will have been purchased new during that time.
Right, right. Well, and likewise, congratulations on the new dock for the fireboat down there. That looks terrific. So thanks to I know it was, you were involved with that and some others, and so much appreciate that philanthropy.
Yeah, that, if you don't mind, that project actually started about a year and a half ago. Conversations with Park and Recs people about the frequency that the then dock was being struck by less practiced boaters trying to back their trailers down the ramp. And they had run into that dock several times, and basically it was falling apart. So we were able to secure donations to purchase a sectional dock, and Tony Kokler here in town designed this. It's a little bit heavier design than what he typically does, wider, and we, with his help, went down there a week ago yesterday and installed the dock. Jeremy's crew came down, and part of that whole project, we wanted to slide it a little bit further to the south so it wouldn't get run into. So we had to build basically an anchor point of concrete that the catwalk started off from. So we were able to do that, get it put in. I told Jeremy I need to get down there tomorrow and zip tie the shoreline up to the dock so it's not just laying on, wrapped around the dock post, and that keeps the boat powered up. But yeah, the lights
Yeah.
are
LED, they look great, the
LED
flags up.
lights,
Yeah.
yeah, and we can program those so they shut off after a couple hours, or their motion detector activated. So I think it really turned out well. The paint scheme, that was my idea, as far as making it match the boat. So the rails on the dock are that red, deep maroon, powder coated, and then the deck panels, the decking itself is the white. So, yeah, it worked really well.
Very, very generous, appreciate it.
Thank you. Therefore, entertain a motion to approve specifications and authorize the release of the request for proposal RFP to purchase a new Class A pumper fire apparatus.
So move.
Second.
Moved by Gary, seconded by Mike, that we approve the RFP for the new Class A pumper fire apparatus. Is there any discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same. Motion carries. Thank you. 6D, 2021 Storm Sewer and Water Main Improvement Project, project update, review of PACE number 4. Mr. Petersburg.
Mayor, Council, I'll start with the project update. NIS Excavation is the prime contractor on the 2021 Storm Sewer and Water Main Improvement Project. To date, all storm sewer and water main work has been completed. All of the street patching, surface restoration has been completed, and the last of the sidewalk ramps are formed up, and they plan to pour those two on 20th Street first thing tomorrow. The only work remaining on the project after that is the driveway or the entrance to the middle school. We had purposely delayed that back in May, waiting for school to get out, and then also the school would like some additional work there done on that driveway. So Jeremy and I did meet there with the school today and looked at what they'd like to see done there, so we're gonna put together a little redesign plan there, get some pricing on it, and then if we can run it through the project, the school will be reimbursing for their portion of the costs there. But rather than do a little patch in the middle, they'd like to see it done right. So other than the school entrance, all work will be wrapped up by the end of this week. Pay estimate 4 in your packets includes work completed this year on the project. The pay estimate includes the last of the water main and storm sewer work, as well as the majority of the paving work that's been completed. Net amount due to NIS excavation is $203,341.43. V&K does recommend approval of pay estimate number 4 as presented. Any questions?
That's primarily 16th, 20th, and First Avenue, a little bit of First Avenue North,
Yep.
12th.
Yep,
and down to 12th. It goes down to, oh, and 12th,
Yep.
yeah.
yep. The patching work is on 16th and 12th and 20th, and then the storm sewer work is on 12th and 20th as far as this pay estimate.
And that storm sewer at 12th goes up through the.
Goes
one we
up
did
to
a number of years
First
ago.
and
Over
over
the big-
west on First block or half a block there.
Right.
And ultimately dumps into the big detention basin.
12th, that system goes down Main Avenue, 13th. It's part of the 2019 project, yeah.
It dumps into the big basin in the industrial park.
Yes, that one does.
I was just going to mention, this is one of those projects that, if you recall, the ARPA funds, that we're using some of our ARPA funds to pay for this project.
I do know that area where Callahan used to live. There was always what they said, an underground water, something that came underneath where the present middle school is, and, you know, by that tree down through Andrew's basement and kept on going. So this will really be a big help, I would think, to that whole area. I mean, that was there for years and years.
We'll definitely address the surface water.
Thank you. All right, I therefore entertain a motion to approve pay estimate number 4 to NIS Contracting in the amount of $203,341.43.
So moved.
Dana, seconded by Bennett, that we approve the pay estimate on the 2021 storm sewer water main improvement project to NIS. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries. 6E, 2022 East Main Avenue Street Reconstruction Project Update Review. Excuse me, pay estimate number 1, Mr. Petersburg.
Thanks, Mayor. There's 2 items in your packet for the 2022 East Main Avenue Street Reconstruction Project. The first being pay estimate number 1 to Wix Construction, and then the second being V&K supplemental agreement for professional services for the construction phase. I'll start with the pay estimate. For the contract documents, 10% of the mobilization is to be paid to the contractor after the contract is signed. The contract's been signed, so the pay estimate's been prepared. Net amount due to Wix Construction is $21,825 after subtracting the 3% retainage, which typically we do 5% retainage for this project. With the DOT contract language, it's set at 3%. So V&K recommends approval of pay estimate number 1. Second item is supplemental agreement number 1 for professional services. When the original engineering agreement was presented to the council for the East Main Avenue Street Reconstruction Project, that was structured, it included the final design phase, special assessment phase, with the fee for the construction services to be determined after contract award. The supplemental agreement amends the original agreement by establishing the maximum not to exceed fee for the construction phase of $147,500. The fee includes the general services, the construction staking, and the on-site resident review. I'll note that the pre-construction conference has been scheduled for June 29th next week, 11 a.m. at City Hall here. And the construction start date, the early start date is July 11th, so Monday after the 4th of July. Any questions on the East Main Avenue project?
Council, any questions for Jason?
I was just going to remind you that, again, this was Wix Construction. They did the previous 2 phases of the project, done a really nice job for us, and the cost of it was $2.3 million for this phase. So between the first phase that was 20 to 24th Street back in fiscal year 17, that was about $1 million. The next phase is about another $2.5 million. So when you add up all the construction work and professional services and those kinds of things, we're probably north of about $8 million for the complete reconstruction of Main Avenue from 8th out to 24th. So, and again, haven't had to borrow anything for that. We've been fortunate that we've gotten some federal funds to help out with a couple of those phases, but largely all locally between the city and the property owners.
So basically less than 7 years. Once we complete this, it will be done. And, you know, stop and think, ladies and gentlemen, what we've done there through that whole time. But we haven't, but Alliant has buried some electric there, I do believe, which is, a lot of poles are down, not all of them are down, but, you know, we will have put in, Jeremy, correct me if I'm wrong on this, I think we will have put in up to 50 trees if, depending on the acceptance of from 8th to 14th, if in fact those people take, you know, and. We haven't adjusted that or. And even some people whose trees we have taken down, they'd rather not have them back in there again. You know, we put I think it's a bike lane all the way, or we will have all the way through. We've got the sidewalk. We used to have discussion on that. That's what, the 5-foot, right? 5-foot sidewalk.
Correct.
Banners, which recently went on there. I think that did a lot to improve that whole area. We've got wonderful light fixtures through there. You know, we spent a lot of coin on that particular area in approximately 7 years of time. And it looks just beautiful. And
Great.
figure out, you know, before, certainly my time here, I think in the late 90s is when they did it from the reconstruction from the boat approach down to 8th all the way through that business district. That certainly was an interesting time when you had to stir up all those people through there, but that's beautiful too. So we've got a wonderful looking, or will have wonderful looking Main Street throughout that time and from here on out. So wonderful. Well, I've chatted here too much, so thank you, Jason. Here we go.
I do miss the train coming down the track.
Mike, I had to tear some of those tracks out, and that was not fun.
I know.
So stop ringing the bell, Mike.
Yeah.
Well, you gotta wax and wane nostalgically from time to time. You know, that's about all of us old people have anymore, so.
Anyway, we will be plenty proud of the Main Street when it is complete. All right, entertain a motion to approve payers from number 1 to Wix in the amount of $21,825.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Gary, seconded by Mike, that we approve payers from number 1 to Wix Construction. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries. And now entertain a motion to approve supplemental agreement for the construction phase engineering with V&K not to exceed, I believe I'm right on that, $147,500. Motion, please.
So moved.
Moved by Dana, seconded by Gary, that we approve the supplemental agreement amount to V&K Engineering. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same. Motion carries. Thank you. F, South 8th Street Housing Development Project, under Mr. Flory.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. The green sheets in your packet address this item, professional services agreement with Veenstrom Kim to kind of take the first step on a proposed residential housing development. This would involve the extension of the city sanitary sewer collection system to the property, as well as the city municipal water system. So, of course, property is that is roughly a 24-acre tract of land that's bordered on the east by South 8th Street, on the north by 15th Avenue South, and then over to the west there by Clear Lake Boats. And got a copy in the professional services agreement proposal of kind of what generally is proposed here for this. And essentially the blue line is the water service line that would be extended in from the South Shore area that cuts through some private property. So part of the services that would be provided under the auspices of this agreement would be easement-related services. So negotiation, we've had some conversation with the property owner who's supportive of granting those easements, but preparing the necessary documents to get the permission, legal authority to put the water main into the property from South Shore Drive there. The green pipeline there is the sanitary sewer line, so you can again see that's coming from 12th Avenue South. So that's an existing line that's already there. That would have been part of something that we probably would have been replacing in time. So probably within our 5-year plan, that would have been a project for us to replace that sanitary sewer collection system main there down to 15th Street. So the piece that would kind of be a new section would be the portion that runs on 15th Avenue South from South 8th Street west over there. That again would probably involve some easement acquisition from the property owner so that we can avoid any pavement work there and the power poles and all that, and put that on the south side of that city right-of-way line there onto the private property. So the project, again, is mostly this first phase, kind of broken down a couple of phases. There's, of course, a design phase that would be subsequent to this, but the initial phase would be the preliminary engineering services, and that would be in the amount of $6,900. That, again, also involves getting to the point. Obviously, the DNR is involved for permit approvals and those kinds of things, so we would have to do all of that work. But ultimately, then the design service component would be $21,900. So again, at this point, that's the scope of the contract: $6,900 for preliminary engineering services, and then another $21,900 as we progress further from that next step. That would be the next stage into formal design. For $21,900. I know there's a schedule there included in your packet. That's just kind of a rough schedule. That may or may not prove to hold in terms of how the project evolves. It's like I mentioned earlier, I think with what we see going on with the economy, we're just going to have to be responsive to how things are going. So in our world here, if contractors start indicating to us that they're at a lull and need work, we may try to expedite that just to accommodate that and take advantage of some good labor costs on bidding these kinds of projects. We know we're probably not going to be able to capitalize on material costs. As I've shared with you before, we're seeing material costs on some cases in water mains 37% high. So it is a concern. The cost of materials are concerning. So we need to be very strategic and systematic in how we approach these projects and have some flexibility in terms of how they're scheduled, in terms of the bid letting, as well as when they're constructed. So this is going to be another one of those. So again, even though we have a bid opening targeted on there for September 1st, that's probably just going to have to be kind of like a fluid date, not locked in, just kind of, again, evaluate where things are at in our neck of the woods here, and maybe if, again, things are good and we maybe can move faster. If not, maybe it slows down and is delayed a little bit on the bid opening there. So I don't have really anything further on the professional services agreement. Jason can review a little more with you. I would just add to, I think, in terms of several, I know Mike and Ben have both been involved in the conversations we've had with the developer on this one, and I just can't think of anything in terms of a number one need in our community right now more than housing. It is absolutely at a I think at nothing short of a crisis level. We've got a few more on the market today than we had in the last few months, but not many more. And I'm talking, the bar was pretty low previously. I remember not so long ago, we had one house for sale in the entire town. So I think it's a little more than that, but we do not have much in inventory. And as we've talked before, when we talk about these economic development projects and bringing new businesses and industries to our community, almost one of the very first questions we were having a conversation relative to the CERTA building and a prospect, and one of the very first comments were related to workforce housing. We're bringing some people, are there homes available in the community for our workforce? And right now, the answer to that is good luck. So, and we've talked about this a lot of times as we progress on this. We would have some development agreement with the developer, so we're working on that, probably hopefully bring that back at a subsequent meeting here with the developer that would really memorialize what the performance standards, the expectations are. What can we expect and when can we expect it? Because it obviously represents a significant investment, not only privately but publicly for the city as well. So, but again, I think you can look around at other communities and see what projects are going on. And in total, it's a 24-acre site. I think we were kind of penciling out over multiple phases. We, as a city, might have upwards of $1.8 million in terms of infrastructure incentive costs invested in this. But I see what some other communities are investing, $2.5 million in, and I think the opportunity to get a significant subdivision that would bring families and people to our community is very, very important for us. We look at our census, we decreased by 90 people this last go around. I think a lot of that can translate back to our housing situation. So I think we've got a good opportunity to have local developers, builders interested in working here and investing here, and so that's fortunate. Many communities getting involved, and they're actually having to develop the entire subdivision and then go out and try to recruit a builder to come in and put housing up. So it's difficult. I think we're probably in a better spot than most. And we have housing challenges. We talk about more workforce type housing is here very often gobbled up by vacation rentals. And so not much you can do about that, but it does take away from opportunities for families to move to our community. So again, I think anything we can do to encourage more housing is just absolutely desperately needed. So I don't have anything further, Mike.
Just to clarify what it really is that we're agreeing to tonight. This is primarily an agreement for engineering services and planning on a project that we need to do anyway.
A good portion of it.
Yeah, I mean, not exclusively all of it, yeah, but, I mean, it's something, especially that down 8th Street that
Precisely, yep.
Ultimately would have
That would have
to
been
be-
on our agenda probably within 5 years.
And if for some unknown reason, high prices of materials, unfavorable bids, and we didn't move forward with it, we would still have some planning that could be used in the future.
Oh, without a doubt.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Just-
And I think we'll have to kind of evaluate that, certainly kind of being
Yeah.
aware of what's going on in the market. And there may be strategies that we develop in terms of the infrastructure itself and timing and all those things, just to try to do what we can to contain those large bids.
Yeah, well, I just wanted to clarify exactly what we were
Yep.
voting on tonight.
Yep. And always when you can extend the water main, never ran into a situation where that wasn't a good thing.
Great.
Any other questions, comments of Scott? Thank you, Scott. Review of professional services agreement, Jason Petersburg, V&K, for the South 8th Street Housing Development Project.
The scope of this project itself is shown on figure number 1, which was attached to the agreement. The new water main on the west side of the proposed future residential subdivision, and then the new sanitary sewer to the north along 8th Street up to 12th Avenue South, and then over along the south side of 15th Avenue South, depending on where the connection is required for that subdivision itself. The sanitary sewer planning, there are going to be a couple of different scenarios that we can work through with the DNR permitting section, working to maximize the depth available at the residential properties to allow the sewers to drain by gravity from the basements rather than having to put pumps in the basements themselves. The water main will require easement agreements for a couple of different properties for installing the water main across private property. Our scope of services includes the preliminary engineering, working with the DNR to determine the sewer service area, sizing of the pipe, and coordination with the DNR. Final design phase that's also included in the agreement involves survey, detailed plans, specs, bidding, and contract documents. Fees are lump sum, $21,900 for the final design, and then hourly not to exceed $6,900 for the preliminary engineering. That'll depend on how much back and forth there is with the DNR primarily. Scott touched on it, but schedule-wise, we're looking at having plans wrapped up by the end of summer. That time, we can decide what the subdivision plans are, needs are, and set some bid dates and construction dates at that time. Questions on the engineering agreement for the sewer and water project?
Council, any questions for Jason?
Jason, I have some concerns, and you addressed it, Scott addressed part of it. It has to do with this schedule, which I thank you for the information you've given tonight on it. If this is let and bid, how long are you going to hold these contractors to that bid? For since if something happens on the other end.
I mean, if they can't get to the project to build, material related or their schedule related?
Any relation, anything. We're in a very volatile period right now.
Absolutely. And we can bid the project, we can set, set the construction window.
So in other words, the schedule is shown here, we don't have to award the contract on September 4th or 6th?
Absolutely not.
Okay,
No.
that's
Well,
my question, that's what I want clarified.
After we get through the design, we know the status of the subdivision, the timing, when do we need to have these improvements in? That's when we can come back, have another discussion about how fast do we need to proceed on this project.
Correct,
Yes.
correct, that's what I wanted to hear.
Absolutely.
My other concern is dues with the bids. Material costs, labor, everything, fuel, all contractors know this. If this bid does come in high, we may have to put this project on hold and approach it from a different angle. Is that a problem?
That's not a problem with me whatsoever.
How about the rest of the council? Is that a problem?
In my opinion, that at this point, you're right, we're in an interesting time here. I think we'll have to look at that as it came up. We can't determine that right now.
No, we can't determine
Right.
it, but if that should happen,
We'll have to take a look at it at that point in
Right.
time.
yeah.
We don't know.
Approach this project from a
You're
different
right,
angle.
it's in a interesting time of where are we?
Yeah.
You just don't know. I mean, it's like with the East Main project, we let that for bid. Thought that might be a harbinger of what was going to come for the summer, but then we had several bids and they came in below the estimate. So, I mean, we just have to wait and see
Not
and
only,
evaluate.
not only is it a risk for us, but it's a risk for the developer too. And the developer may, something may crop up he's not aware of.
Yeah, I just
Screw things up.
Good point, Gary. Anything else? Thank you, Jason. Therefore, I entertain a motion to approve a professional services agreement with regard to the South 8th Street Housing Development Project with Veenstra and Kim Engineering in the amount, a lump sum fee of $21,900 and the preliminary engineering services, what is it, what do we got here? For not to exceed hourly fee of $6,900. Motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Bennett, seconded by Gary, that we approve the professional service agreement with V&K. Is there any discussion?
Yes, Mayor, I have a few comments if I could. I think, first of all, this professional services agreement is an appropriate first step to move forward on a very strategic housing project for Clear Lake in a great location. I think this is a terrific location. So You know, going back to our earlier discussion, and Scott referenced this, frankly, new housing is our #1 need in Clear Lake. And I think, frankly, it's the key driver for our future growth. Without more new housing, our opportunities or future opportunities for economic development and growth and our prosperity are really going to be limited. So I recognize the concerns in the environment, but I would just suggest that this is just a very important strategic project for Clear Lake that we need to move forward on. So I think it's urgent that we partner and invest with local builders like John Snow to move this project forward. And I want to thank him and his team for bringing it to us. So I fully support it. Thank you for being here, John.
Any other comments? Or am I ready to call a vote here?
We got the first and the second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries. Thank you. 7, chief report. Welcome, chief.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. I'll draw your attention to the blue sheet in the back of your packets. Those are our May 2022 stats, or report. Nothing really jumps out at me here. Our calls for service last May were about 929, so we're basically on track. Scott asked me about the golf carts and the UTV permits. We're about 380 this year, and last year we were about 279 total for both vehicles. I'll give you a little update on our hiring process. Or June 10th, our application closed. We will take those the applicants that we got in the pool, and I believe last week in June, we'll have our testing, the Wellness Center for the physical fitness, and then over here for the written test. The academy isn't until September, so we have a little bit of time, but we also don't want to wait and get some people hired if we can. We're going to look for at least 3 positions at this moment in time. I will just real quickly touch on the UTV, ATV. As you know, the governor signed a bunch of new laws into law really quickly at the last hour before the session ended, so we're kind of scrambling to figure out what was passed and what wasn't. One of those dealt with UTVs, and all I can really tell you just by looking at the Senate file that I think that they passed is our code is still going to be enforced with a permit. The cities can still regulate the use of golf carts, ATVs, UTVs within corporate limits. We will just not be able to charge a permit fee after July 1 for UTVs only. So that'll be the only thing that will change. You will still need a permit to drive on streets in Clear Lake. You'll still need to go through an inspection. There's also some other state law language in there that talks about speed limits and what equipment that you have to have on the vehicle that we don't really look for, so we'll have to update that. But that's all I can tell you right now until I can actually see the law. That's what I've been getting from the other chiefs in the area. And just finally, we've been meeting with the chamber July 4th. I know on your consent agenda you voted for the special event for that. Basically, last year, I think we kind of got I hate to say it, we kind of got the parking and the road closures kind of where we wanted them for this year. So there'll basically be really no change. We have some ADA parking again like we did last year. We also have some permanent parking down in the Lakeview area. So again, those maps will be posted very quickly. And we've been working with Jeremy again in the chamber to kind of make sure we get the barricades up and the temporary signage out, because I believe the carnival will start rolling in here around the 6th or 7th of June, I believe. So I know I think it's going from the 28th to the 5th, correct? So 27th, 28th is when the carnival will start showing up. So other than that, I have nothing else unless anybody, I would like to add that the police department our vehicles are pretty cheap. So when Public Works and Fire come up, just remember that for budget time. So.
We came up with an ordinance last year about the participants observing the parade.
Yes. Yeah, so we'll do something on our website or Facebook, social media about the spot saving. I think that's what we call the ordinance.
It's in the newsletter.
It's in the newsletter too, so we actually were pretty fortunate last year. I think everyone kind of.
I thought it went very well.
Yeah, went pretty well. We'll talk with Parks and Public Works about just letting us know if there's issues prior to that, so.
100% compliance.
It
And
was,
we just
yeah,
had
very
no, it
good.
was wonderful to see. And the sod looked fantastic. We laid it right before the 4th. It still looks fantastic, so, you know, greatly appreciate the cooperation of citizens.
One point on the blue sheet that kind of stuck out to me, I thought, but your calls for service in May beat the former record of April by 142 calls for service, the very first one there.
Yeah, so we do see sort of a trend upwards here from May, basically all the way through August, September. So that, like, our May 21 calls were 929, so we're really where we're at from last year, for this time of the month last year, I mean, compared to last year. So again, Memorial Day, the try, that all just starts increasing our calls for service there, so.
Which would say why dispatch is up too. I
Yep.
mean, obviously.
The 911 calls did go down, but our administrative calls went up. It's kind of weird that way, so.
Any other questions, Chief?
I'd just comment that April was just an extension of winter this year, so
Pretty much.
that might have something to do with it.
Thanks, Chief. Public Work Director's report, Jeremy, update on 12th Avenue South pavement repair work.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. As you all know, 12th Avenue South has had some issues. We did just some temporary repairs just to get some rock in there while school was out, or while school was in until they got out, and then we're gonna do some kind of temporary, semi-permanent repairs here. We went through and kind of looked at different options. I talked with Jason about different things as well, and just running some different numbers, we determined, and I got a bid from Heartland Asphalt to do temporary asphalt paving, and with their costs compared to the cost for us to do it ourselves, there was relatively not a whole lot different, especially once you add in labor. So we had agreement here with Heartland Asphalt to get in there and do a 4-inch asphalt pavement in pretty much all the areas that has rock, plus a little bit of extra, so that the cost could vary a little bit one way or another just based on square footage, but it's gonna be roughly in that 32 to 35 range, I'm guessing. I did the math on putting concrete in like a 5 to 6 inch of concrete, and I think the materials cost was right around $27,000, and that's then us having to supply rock, supply manpower, and it'd take us probably about a week and a half to get all that paved, cured, everything like that. This is about a 1-day job for them, so hopefully, with the discussions with them, they're hoping to have it done before the 4th of July hits. This is obviously a job for them, since it is a 1-day job, they're gonna pull crews off of when they get a gap in some of their other work. So he's hoping to have it before the 4th. If not, he said right after. So like I said, we're just gonna play it by ear, and work it that way. So, other than that, if you have any questions on that, try to answer them for you.
Gotta get it done sooner than that. I bought my Mustang out on part of it.
When I received when he said that he wouldn't be here for possibly, I thought he was originally, when we talked last week, he'd probably be in there this week, so we'll get back down there with the skid loader and level out some of those for you.
It might lower the price on that Mustang.
I don't think so.
Yeah, have to get the Cadillac out there.
Any other comments? Thanks.
All right, thank you.
Director of Finance?
Creighton's not here, of course. Just going to mention that one of our budget items was some security or interior renovations here on the administrative side of City Hall. When we did the City Hall remodel, of course, most all of that was the council chambers and the police department. But I see many communities, the courthouse headed that direction as well. Mason City just recently did a security upgrade and some renovations over there. And, you know, I think we've had a few issues where it definitely calls attention for the need for some improvements in that area. So going to be meeting with Berglund and Cram on that here July 12th and talking about how we can make it a little more safe, a little more secure out front there. That's all I've got on that.
Thank you. Questions, Scott?
Hey,
Thanks.
I got one question. I know we've talked about this before, but our new signs, our digital signs, are they ever gonna finish fixing those things?
As far as what are you looking
Well,
for?
it's supposed to show temperature and stuff. It doesn't show any of that.
The temperature? I haven't paid enough attention to that. Do you know if the temperature is working?
Well, it's not showing it anymore. It has for quite a while.
The mayor's report is up and you're on.
You can talk now.
You got a turn. So in regard to the digital signs, they had to put a new circuit breaker in. Since they've done that, I think we've only been offline maybe one time. It's been a long time since we've, yeah. Anyway, they're working. I could put the temperature back up there. The temperature was the cause of the issues last summer, and so we just haven't put the temperature up there because everyone has it on the dash of their car or on the radio or that kind of
Well, it
thing.
doesn't
So,
matter. It's what we paid for, Stace.
well, I mean, I don't think we paid for the temperature. I think we paid for the messaging that goes on the signs regarding events.
Let's not go there.
Let's not go there.
Okay. I do want to say that this summer so far seems to be going really smoothly. I just kudos to our pool and our parks department. Our pool is being managed at a level that I have not seen in my 16 years of living here. It's exceptional. Very happy as a parent. Also, our parks look wonderful. We haven't had a single, well, I shouldn't even say it out loud. We haven't had a garbage complaint. So those new trash cans in city parks seem to be taking care of the issue, as well as our parks team are going out and making sure that those cans are emptied on a regular basis. The plants look beautiful. The town's just showing really nicely.
I'd just add on the pool, it's going so well, we can't keep it stocked with food. We keep running out of food at the pool.
An exciting thing, we always receive our hotel motel tax revenue in arrears. So we received our Q1, which is January through March hotel motel tax revenue, and it was record breaking by almost 100% over last year. So people are coming to Clear Lake, they're visiting here. We're doing things in the winter months to get people here and to spend their money. So that's very exciting for our community. Thursdays on Main will have its 4th week this year. And then we'll be moving into the 4th of July celebration. It is 9 days away. I think there are already some carnival rides here, and some of the crew will start rolling in as early as Monday. So it's coming. Wow. And we need bingo volunteers. So if you'd like to volunteer for bingo, please let me know. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Steve. Chad's not here. I just want to go back to that pool. I think there are 18 full-time lifeguards that they have. That's unheard of in this area, at least from what I've read in the news. And we have 42 recreational folks. Adam and Mary Jo have done great work there. Very, very good. Thursdays on Main, it's never been better, I don't think. I mean, you can hardly walk between 8th Street and South Shore Drive, and that's wonderful. Families, perfect. We need a motion to reschedule July 4th city council meeting to Tuesday, July 5th. Motion, please.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Bennett, seconded by Dana, that we reschedule our July 4th city council meeting to Tuesday, July 5th. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries. Scott, report?
Yeah, I won't take very long. We're getting pretty late here, but just a couple of things. The Main Avenue decorative streetlight, the banner project there, I just want to point out how good those look, but more importantly, the level of collaboration on that project. Everybody, look at it. Mike here, he was involved in many of those meetings. Stacy was maybe more involved than anybody in all of them, even though we have consultants involved in some of these things. We always have, Jeremy was very involved. Just there's so much that goes into even a very simple thing like seeing when you drive down Main. Jason was involved, and there's really a science in picking out the banner bracket arms and all these things so that they withstand the certain wind velocity and everything. But I think you kind of take for granted the amount of collaboration that goes on. We had some of the nonprofits involved in participating and feedback on some of the design. But I would guess that at some point we probably had 50 different people providing input in some of these things. So just very much local people involved in that effort, and I think they turned out really well. The State Historic Preservation meeting on the Seawall nomination, we had that. That was done by Zoom. Gary and Nelson and Mary Beth were both all on that call with us at the State Historic Nominating Committee. And I thought it went really well. It's a group of maybe 7 folks. Again, their role is a nominating committee, so they review applications that are made for consideration for placement on the National Register of Historic Places. So again, we worked with RDG on the Seawall nomination, and RDG presented that on our behalf. You only get about a 5-minute window, so we let the consultant prepare that. They had a number of pretty good questions for our consultant on that, but in the end, they ultimately did unanimously forward on that positive recommendation to the National Park Service and Washington, D.C. for placement on the National Register of Historic Places. So that's in the queue for them, probably looking at about next summer before we would have that. But I think it's a very good indicator. Very rarely does the federal group go against the state nominating group. So I think that's a good sign for us. And I think, in Iowa, we've got, I think last I saw there's about a couple thousand properties on the National Register. Oftentimes that gets confused with the National Historic Landmark status. The SURF has both of those in addition to many other accolades. But in Iowa, the National Historic Landmark status is a higher level, but there are only about 24, 25 of those properties in Iowa. And so, again, be very noteworthy under this council's guidance to have that placed on the National Register. So we'll just keep plugging away at that. I think, again, very positive. The Nyakog Transit, I had some conversation with Kevin over at Nyakog, and I think they've got an interim solution. It won't be to the full level, at least on the onset, but I know they've worked with a local business here that has very, very active recently in acquiring properties and making some solid improvements here in downtown. And they've got a really nice thing they're doing. They call it their Innovation Center out there. And as I understand it, one of the founders of the family business was on the Nyakog original board, and so it was important to him, and so that family got involved. And I think the buses, they signed a lease yesterday. The buses are going to be housed here in Clear Lake at this location. There's a gated area with cameras, and there's incubator space for the drivers and dispatch and everything. So I think it's going to ultimately work out pretty well, and we'll get that service back up and going. So very, very important, very needed service here in the community. And so hopefully by mid-July we'll be running really well. I know they're interviewing new drivers now, so hopefully, again, up with minimal interruption there. So then the last thing I was going to mention, I forwarded on to you an email I just got late this afternoon from the Department of Transportation. Seems like this has been a long time in the making, but we did get approved for that traffic study there at 27th Avenue South, South 8th Street, Grouse Avenue. They've selected a consultant on that finally, so be able to get that started here soon too. So.
That Nyakog news is really great news
It's
for a lot of
positive,
people
for
in our
sure,
community.
yeah.
It really is
We
very
hate
good.
to lose that service.
Yeah, it's good. Any other comments?